This evening, you'll also meet Ken and Roberta Williams, the creative minds behind Sierra Online, the makers of some of the most popular computer games on the market today.
Many computer games parallel movies in more ways than one. Several computer games are produced like animated films with scripts and storyboards and artwork. I'm pleased to have with us today Ken and Roberta Williams, the creative force behind the successful Sierra Online. You all have so many smash hit games, The Wizard and the Princess, Threshold, Frogger. How did all this begin?
It all began 2.5 years ago in the kitchen of our house. Ken had just bought a microcomputer, an Apple, and he thought he wanted to do something with it. At that time, he really didn't know what, and he was fooling around with writing a programming language for the Apple, which is a Fortran language. And in the meantime, I was playing a little adventure game called Colossal Cave, which was just a simple text adventure game, and I loved it. I felt that this is something I'd been waiting all my life for. I lived this game, and I thought I could do a game like it. So I sat down at my kitchen table and started writing a game, which I ultimately called Mystery House. But to make it different from the other adventure games at that time, which were all text, we decided to add pictures to it. So we had to invent a way to do it, and we did. And when it was done, we put a little ad in Micro magazine and just to see how it would sell. And the first month we made $8,000, and next month $20,000, and it just went up from there. Decided to publish our own software.
How do you two split up the responsibilities of Sierra Online?
I really take care of running the business, hiring people, all the sales, marketing, the actual operational end of the business, manufacturing and shipping the product. And Roberta takes most of the game design, the creative end of all of our really successful products. I go to the office every day, and she sits around and thinks.
Now, and you all have been in business 2.5 years and employ how many people now?
85, around there, full-time employees. And we have maybe another 85 part-time people or outside authors around the country.
Now, your company is not all fun and games, right? You do have some business-related software.
Yes, we market a word processor for the Apple computer called Screenwriter, which is now the top-selling word processor in the country. It is nice in that it allows you to use your Apple computer to type letters and uses the graphic capabilities of the computer to do some things that none of the other word processors allow you to do. We also market a product called the General Manager, which allows your computer to simulate a filing cabinet.
Now, what exactly is home productivity?
Most software publishers like us have some type of business product. It could be a word processor, a database manager, an accounting system, but they've all mostly been geared more towards small businesses. And we're thinking in terms of taking these types of products and making them simpler and less complicated to use so that people can use them in just home use.
So a lot of the things that a word processor might do in business environment, it doesn't need to do in the home. We're concentrating instead on things like being able to walk away from it for 6 months, come back and use it again in a few minutes.
Where do you all plan to go with this more serious line of products?
You know, ultimately want to allow you to purchase a personal computer and see it as a lot more than just a toy, something to play games on. So we're doing a lot of rethink of our business products using some of the techniques that we actually developed in our games. Things for, I don't know, color graphics, sound, all the good feedback type things. In fact, our word processor was the first on the Apple computer to exploit the use of the graphics for word processing. We were able to do some things to allow you to preview what the letter you're typing looks like by using the graphic mode of the computer.
Now, one of Sierra Online's most exciting projects to date all started with some fans who happen to be pretty creative and pretty influential as well. Tell us about that.
That's Jim Henson of Muppet fame. He has a new movie coming out called The Dark Crystal, and it's coming out in December. And him and a few of his friends have played my adventure games in the past and really liked them a lot. And they thought that they wanted an adventure game based on their movie. So they've been working with me on the design of this game. Their artists have been doing the pictures, and they've supplied me with all the information I could ever need, and it follows the storyline of the Dark Crystal really close.
Now, we realize this is a fantasy movie, but in a nutshell, what is Dark Crystal about?
It's the eternal story about good and evil. It's set on a little fantasy planet somewhere in space that nobody knows exists. The basic premise is that there's these evil rulers on this planet called Skeksis, and they have broken and darkened a crystal that they all worship on this planet and have taken it over and are slowly corrupting this planet. And the good people, especially in the character of Jen, who is a gelfling, his job is to repair the broken crystal and bring back the goodness and light by using a crystal shard before something called a great conjunction, which is the coming together of the three suns, which happens every 1,000 years on this planet.
Once we see the movie Dark Crystal, will we automatically know how to solve the game?
The adventure game is primarily based on the movie. The storyline is there, and you definitely get the feeling of the story and what's happening, just like in the movie. But a lot of the, there are puzzles that I added that weren't in the movie, but still have the same feeling of the story. Or there might be things that did happen in the movie, but I changed them around a little bit. So the basic story is there, but obviously we didn't want them watching the movie and then just come home and play the game and solve it.
What would you recommend, seeing the movie first or playing the game first?
Both. Doesn't matter. You can solve the game without seeing the movie, and you can see the movie but still not solve the game.
You should probably say something about why why Henson Associates picked the personal computer marketplace to release the Dark Crystal game instead of the game machine marketplace. When you play the Dark Crystal, the version that we have, you actually assume the role of the character and make the same kind of decisions that he would have made. It's a little different than watching a movie. Here you're watching a movie, but you control the action.
Yeah.
You're actually the main character.
You get a feeling you're really there.
And there's only that kind of depth in gameplay available with a personal computer. So I think Henson Associates chose wisely by limiting the marketplace of this game.
You've also been very successful at taking a quarter arcade game into the home market. Tell us about Frogger.
I don't know, I always felt there was a lot closer tie to the quarter arcade industry than we've seen in the past. And I just happened to be in a quarter arcade with one of my programmers and saw the machine and said that would be fun to program. And it wasn't even the financial end of the business or anything else. It just looked like a fun game to try to program. So we negotiated for the rights and have gone through really a 6-month battle to get the game implemented because the quarter arcade company is very picky about how they want their game represented in the homes. It's got to look like the quarter arcade machine does.
You were saying that what you do is a lot like the entertainment market and what a voracious appetite the public has. How do you come up with all of these new concepts?
See, I just deal in adventure games right now. And most of those have just come out of my mind, just out of my head, just sitting down and just letting it come out. It's a basic storyboard, a plot and all that kind of stuff. That comes from me. The arcade games, I haven't designed any of those.
Yeah.
They're sent in through the mail. People write in about them.
Whole industry is developed in marketing concepts to games. I notice when we go to buy a product now, we have 2 different royalties we pay depending on whether or not the game is original. And somebody's invented a new idea for playing a game, and if somebody simply takes somebody else's ideal and converts it. For instance, Frogger for the home had a much lower royalty than Threshold or Crossfire. And in fact, when you write a game now, you typically make more money not off the actual game that you program, but off of the sale of your concept for other computer versions. If you bring us the game on Apple, then we're going to market the Atari, the IBM, the VIC-20, and other computer versions, as well as probably sell the rights for quarter arcade use. And all that money comes back to the author and results in a nice paycheck.
What would you recommend for other people who'd like to do what you've done?
It's rough. You got to have more money than when we did. We started out with $1,000 2.5 years ago to place our first ad and have our cheapy little product packaging. That's all you needed then, because that's all anybody had, was just real cheap, inexpensive stuff. Just your software product itself has to be a lot more sophisticated than in the past. So if you think you got a good product, just spend the money, have good packaging, and place a lot of ads in the right magazines.
How do you keep up with this fast-paced business? What do you see ahead?
Computers seem to get a little more powerful for what you pay each year. They're starting to come into the price range where what you pay for a good stereo or color TV is what you'd pay for a personal computer. And as that happens, more and more people are going to write more software, and there'll be more that you can do with it. Right now, I would say only the Apple has enough software available for it to be able to really use it from day one.